And good evening, everyone. Welcome to round 3 of season 7 in the FPSL. I'm your commentator for the evening, Matthew Vernal. Unfortunately, Rob Kershaw isn't with us tonight due to a technical issue. So today, round 3, coming to you from Zandvoort. Of course, a track we haven't seen in real life since 1985. Last winner here was Niki Lauda on a very star-studded podium with Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. Of course, hopefully we will see it in 2021, barring any other restrictions. So we come here today with the current leader of the championship, JT, with Vapor Knuth just 14 points behind, and TDB in third after that very impressive win around Singapore, launching him right up the table after DNFing in his first race. Of course, we did race here a couple seasons ago in season 5 with Knuth and Trench both on the podium, so possibly a couple drivers to watch out for today. Now, in qualifying, we don't know the weather yet. Thanks to this game's very handy features for spectators, but we have a dry qualifying session, so probably look for times in the 108s for pole position today. Of course, racing has been at Zandvoort for a very long time. It was on one of the first couple years of the F1 calendar back in 1952, where the winner was Alberto Ascari. In fact, races have been taking place here since 1948, so it's only one of the first modern racing circuits in Europe, really. A few very iconic moments here. So James Hunt's first win with Hesketh in 1975, and somewhat poetically, Niki Lauda's last win here. As we have our first drivers heading out on track for qualifying. So, of course, we come here after the mental race that was Singapore, 6 DNFs, a lot of front runners having damage, having issues throughout the race, so certainly made for an exciting one. In fact, the 3 guys on the podium all started in 18th, 17th, 18th and 19th, so certainly not what anyone would have predicted going into that one. We jump on board with Knuth here on his outlap. Of course, he had front wing damage through Singapore, but he stayed out and made it work. He had several very impressive overtakes. Just one note actually in terms of penalties from the Singapore Grand Prix, somewhat surprisingly, is I believe Carwin Rob has a penalty ban. At least that's what the steward's report said, or he seems to be doing an outlap, so. And of course, Zandvoort, not a track, maybe not a lot of drivers have driven a lot, so it'll be interesting to see, maybe a bit of a shake-up, maybe some of the guys lower down the grid will put a bit more practice in. Obviously, a new track to this game. It will certainly be interesting. This is a fairly difficult track. There are a lot of corners. You really have to put it on the limit around here. For example, that curb there that Knuth's just gone past, you put it a bit wide there, you can spin very easily, as you can on that one. You can see right down the limit as he goes purple through sector 1. So this is a track really that does reward the brave. If you can put it on the limit and keep it there, you'll certainly have a lot of success. Obviously, I think Knuth may be one of the only people on his flying lap at the minute, which means he's getting a lot of purple sectors. But of course, he is a very good qualifier. As we've seen, his JT sets a 108.7, so that's a very good paces. Knuth just invalidates it. That last curb, you're trying to get every inch you can, pulling back into the pits. So we drop on board with Elian, who was one of the nominees for Driver of the Day around Singapore, had a very impressive race. Coming through the end of sector 1, he goes purple, so this could be a lap to watch out for. So, of course, me on my own tonight without Rob, which certainly makes it interesting. Hope everyone's enjoying. So, of course, one of the changes to this track since the last time F1 raced here is the banking through turn 3. It certainly makes it a lot quicker these days than it used to be. Also a lot safer. Armco, of course, now all around the track, safety being a very important thing for F1 these days. And back in 1985, just speaking of that again, with the very star-studded podium, there was only 2 attempts between the first and second driver. As only in sector 111, so not a lot of time there through sector 2 and 3. As Vapor Trench goes second now, the 109 dead. We have Vapor Cobalt in P3 so far, the 109.1, although you'd certainly expect some improvements here. Given most drivers, I think, can probably sit around the mid-108s in qualifying. We hop on board with Vapor King, who again, normally for driver of the day last time out in Singapore, going from P18 I think, P17 to P3, so he had a very impressive race as well. Certainly a driver to watch out for here today. As he comes flying towards, of course, these last 2 corners are very high speed, but very easy to get wrong. You run slightly wide there, you're in the gravel, and the wall certainly sneaks up on you very quickly through turn 14. Probably a mistake somewhere here on this lap for Vapor King, as he sits a 1:13, so he'll definitely be looking to improve on that one on a second run. We jump on board now with Benja coming into sector 2, this very tricky right-hander into the almost double left-hander, almost like turn 10 in Bahrain. Very tricky to get the braking right there as well, very easy to lock up. So of course, a couple of drivers to watch out for today. We've got JT, who is leading the championship, and had of course that epic battle with TDB, who goes for a 109.6 around Singapore. Benja just swerving, so maybe he's given up on this lap. Possibly trying to pick up the toe from the Mercedes in front. Well, I believe is... Oh, Vapor Trench knows he comes into the pit, so... Let's jump on board with Harrison now, who certainly impressed me and Rob a bit in the first round of the season around Belgium. Unfortunately, a couple silly mistakes and a few penalties cost him there. Again, a very exciting race for him in Singapore, as it was for pretty much the entire grid. I don't think anyone had a boring race. Vapor King setting a 109.4 there, so time up Grid Lord Lamb as well, who had a very good race around Singapore and Belgium. Looking to obviously make a mark here against Kanoof, who is considered obviously one of the better drivers on the grid this year. And Harrison goes purple through sector 2 now, flying in sector 3. Not very long here around Zandvoort. Really, you've only got that quick left-right hander and then the 2 final quick corners, so I imagine a lot of the driver times he invalidates it. That's disappointing for him there. You'd imagine he's probably just going to pull back in, yeah. The Vapor Kanoof taking the inside line, which I believe is a shorter run, and he goes pole with a 108.3. So Vapor Kanoof making his mark here at Zandvoort, showing that wet weather, dry weather, he is certainly one of the more feared drivers here in qualifying. Now, let's see what JT can do about that as he goes onto a flying lap. Of course, very tricky traction zone here out of turn 3. You really have to balance the throttle and not run too wide on the curbs. Down here through this quick left-hand kink, uphill. Now up next is a quick right-hander, but you have to watch out for that left-hand kink on the exit, because otherwise you completely mess up the next turn as he goes purple through sector 1. The Williams there just getting out the way very nicely. I believe that is actually Vapor Kanoof. Now this double left-hander, again another tricky traction zone. You see that JT not really making the most of the track there. I think he may be giving up on this lap actually. This is quite interesting. Possibly lost a lot of time through sector 2. So Vapor Shay now currently P4, but only within a few tenths of the drivers in front. So looking to make a mark, flying through the second DRS zone. A very tricky corner here because you kind of brake halfway, sort of like turn 1 and 2 in Monza. You're braking halfway between the 2 turns, running it as wide as he can onto the grass. Through the final corner, playing a bit safe there on the curbing. We've seen a few drivers so far lose potentially good laps as he, comes into the pits, okay. So, we're going to jump on board with Harrison now, who obviously invalidated his last lap, but did go purple through sector 2, so a driver to watch out for here. In fact, we're going to ride on board with him here. So we're going to see what sort of lines he's taking. You know, how quick is he going to push the car through these corners? Just trying to get some heat in the tyres as Red Sniper, who is a reserve driver for this race, gets out of the way. Renault driver, of course, they're probably looking to have a better race than last time, as they certainly had their fair share of issues. So, that's what's going on. Oh, yeah, so we're on board now with Vapor Trench. Of course, just missing out last season by 1 point. He certainly had a disappointing race around Singapore. That's going to be something he looks to rectify here at Zandvoort. A couple incidents, lost the front wing, got tired out of the race by a collision with Kasu, who unfortunately isn't here today. You see here, flying from sector 2, is it a good enough lap for him to carry on with it? I think it is. He's going flat out into the final couple turns now. Runs a little bit wide, just invalidates the lap though. He's going to be very unhappy about that one. As he pulls back into the pit. Now let's jump on board with last week's race winner, TDB, of course, climbing all the way from 19th on the grid through a very crazy race with several safety cars, a lot of crashes, and you know, certainly something we hope will be as exciting as today. He didn't go perfect through sector 2, but you never know, he might be improving here. So of course, Zandvoort is very famously surrounded by sand dunes, hence the very unique shape of the track. It's gone through several re-layouts through the years. Let's see, who is on an outlet? Let's jump on board with Benja, who did have an interesting race, I think it must be said, in Singapore. A few collisions here and there. Also Jack Prentice moving himself into the top 10 currently. You see there, this track, there isn't a lot to separate the drivers. Similar to Austria, we've got, I believe, about 7 drivers currently in the 109s and the low 109s as well. So this certainly could be an interesting race. A lot of drivers are going to be close to each other. Not too many overtaking opportunities on this track actually. So you may see a bit of impatience, some few dive bombs when guys get stuck behind each other for a few laps. As Benja comes across the line to set a 109 dead, so putting himself up into P5, just 1/1000th behind Vapor Trench. Now, here we have JT, I believe, on a flying lap. Of course, currently, oh no, he's invalidated it somewhere through sector 1. So let's jump on board with Vapor Canoof, who's also invalidated his lap. Oh no, he hasn't. So Vapor Canoof now, currently on pole. Can he improve? Coming into sector 3. As he flies through his last turns, this time not invalidating it. Is he happy enough with it though? Or is he going to go into the pits? Yes, no, he's also not very happy with that. He has lost time somewhere. So let's go for a lap with Vapor Matt. Of course, had a few controversial incidents around Singapore. There was certainly a bit of conversation going on in the chat after that race. Had a few collisions and, you know, kind of struggled at the back a bit. Had an incident with Bazooka Joe late on in the race as well. As Bazooka Joe is also set at 109.6. So you see here the grid is very compact. You got Canoof, sorry. 4 or 5 tenths out in front. And then the rest of the grid really is quite compressed here. So, as I believe someone someone has moved up the grid as Vapor Matt goes purple through sector 2. So, let's see what sort of lap time he can set here. Flying through the last 2 high-speed turns, just about keeping it from getting invalidated. No, he's not happy with that one. So, even though he went purple through sector 2, again, another driver bailing out on a lap. Now, we're going to jump on board here with Vapor King, who is currently on a flying lap, just heading into sector 2. He's 10 seconds up, he's made a mistake somewhere. So, who's starting a flying lap? I believe Harrison is starting a flying lap. Of course, he's had a couple laps. Well, he had one lap invalidated, he had one lap he wasn't too happy with. So, let's see what he can do. He has quite a bit of pace. He's such a 32nd sector 1, so not looking too bad right now. Into his quick right-hander. Now into turn 6 and 7, I believe. Very quick double left-hander there. Very difficult to get the traction right though. He can run it quite wide into the second DRS straight, as he does go purple through sector 2. So let's see what he can do here. Is he happy with the lap? Did he have a good sector 1? And of course, one of the main overtaking opportunities in this track is going to be turn 1. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of guys try and make moves down there. I think Harrison's just got to stick with this lap, and he's up to 109.1, so up to P8. The grid, oh wow. Vapor King and Benja now setting the same lap time. That is certainly something you don't see very often, but on a track as short as this, it can happen. There's not a lot of corners for drivers to make the difference. Well, let's see what JT's doing here. As he's coming, oh, he validates a lap, he cuts the corner, so TDB now flying onto the second DRS straight. I know he's not, he's in sector 3, but he's, oh, yes he is. So here we go into sector 3. I think he might be a little bit down. This might be a lap he gives up on, I think. Okay, so let's jump on board with Vapor Trench, and of course the owner of the league, but certainly a good driver. He's certainly not here just because he runs the league. So he's on his outlap currently. I don't know if any, in fact, the drivers in the pits, if they have a spare set of tyres, they may get out and set another lap time. So plenty of change can still happen here at the top end of the grid. Now, Zandvoort is certainly an interesting track. It's, I'd say, one of the more interesting ones on the calendar, possibly, because there is a lot of unknowns. Obviously, these drivers will have put their practice in, they will have done their due diligence, so they'll be knowing what to expect. But of course, if it's in the rain, maybe that could throw a few strategies off. JT has improved to a 108.5, so only 2 tenths now behind Kanoof, possibly able to find that somewhere on track. So let's see what Vapor Trench can do now. I don't know if that was right, but it said he's at 109 on his outlap. I don't think that's quite right. Flying through this quick, almost S section of sector 1 into this very quick bank turn now. You climb up the hill, as you can see the traction zone, you can lose it very easily there. Very high revs in 3rd gear. Through this quick left-right uphill section. He's going to drop it a couple gears, but keep the throttle in. Swing. There you go, very nice line through there. That's a quick right-hander and more of a medium speed one. A bit like France, actually, if you know the corners round there, that one. A quick double left-hander. Now onto the second DRS straight. Very important traction zone there. This is probably going to be a place where a lot of drivers try and make an overtake through the race. This Trench is 3 tenths up currently, which will put him up to P3. Purple through sector 2. Let's see what he can do now through sector 3. Flying into these last 2 corners. This time not invalidating it, as we've seen a lot of drivers do today. But no, he's not happy with that lap. Oh yes, he is. He says a 108.7. I got faked out there by the pull to the inside. So that puts him up to P3. Currently 300ths ahead of Vapor Shea. Now on board with Vapor Kanoof, flying through into sector 2. Let's see if he can improve on his pole time currently. Of course, he's got JT breathing down his neck. He's not going to be comfortable with only a 2/10 gap. Cutting that corner about as fine as you can take it, but I think he's made a mistake somewhere because he's going very slowly. Now, of course, let's jump on board with JT. He is currently just 2/10 behind Vapor Kanoof, as he is currently 400ths up. He's just going to be looking for that little bit more here. Vapor Kanoof is not going to improve on his lap, so it all comes down to this, a 1-lap shootout at the end of the session. Vapor Trench, I believe, is currently stuck in P3 as well, as JT is a 1/10.5 up. It's all down to this final sector. Can he find that little bit of time he needs? Flying around turn 14, he's going to keep it tucked on the inside. And it's pole position for JT. Unless so a 108.5 P3. TDB not improving. Vapor King improving. He's up to P4 now. Where is Kanoof? Is he on a flying lap? No, he's 4 tenths down, so it looks like it's going to be pole position for JT here. As Harrison comes across the line, he doesn't improve. Vapor Matt, he doesn't improve either, so it's pole position for JT. After his second place around Singapore, he comes out swinging in Zandvoort. We have Kanoof in P2, TDB in P3, Vapor King in P4, Vapor Trench P5, Vapor Shea in P6, Vapor Colt 7th, Benja up in 8th, good qualifying for him. We have Harrison in 9th as well, I believe. Of course, Vapor Matt down in 14th. He's trying to put that Singapore Grand Prix behind him, so look for him in the race. So, to give you your final qualification, it's JT, Vapor Kanoof, TDB, Vapor King, Vapor Trench, Vapor Shea and Cobalt, followed by Benja, Harrison and Lion in P10. Now, outside the 10th, we'll get the fresh tyres. So, TRT James putting a good qualifying. And we've got Red Sniper Ryan, his first reserve race for Renault. Jack Prentice, Vapor Matt, Bazooka Joe, Lord of Lamb, Colin Rob, of course, not setting a lap time. And Luke Prentice out of the session. He DNF'd early on. So, let's see what the weather is like for the race. Of course, so JT really looking to establish that championship lead, taking pole round here as well. So let's see what he can do in the race. Of course, it's only 50% for us, which I believe is 36 laps around this track due to how short it is. So, 2 championship contenders on the front row with Kanoof and JT. We have a dry race as well by the looks of it. So, Renault, of course, having a much better qualifying session as well than the last race. Hoping for a better Grand Prix, of course, in Belgium and in Singapore, I believe. We've both had double DNFs, so hopefully we can have as an exciting a race as Singapore, where me and Rob nearly lost our voices. It was certainly not one to miss. As the driver's already up, ready to go for the formation lap. Of course, front runners will be looking to get as much heat and into the brakes and tyres. Certainly on a track like this, a very short run to turn 1, so you're gonna want to nail that start, because otherwise it could get very messy very quickly. So, potential drivers to watch out for coming through the grid. Vapor Matt, who showed very good pace around Singapore at times. Luke Prentice as well at the back. He can certainly have his quick races. Of course, we have 2 championship contenders at the front. JT, who currently has a 14-point lead over Kanoof, and TDB in 3rd. So the top 3 in the championship with the top 3 on the grid. So a retirement here, and someone suddenly 20 points clear of you. It could certainly make it interesting. Vapor Trench down in 5th. He'll be looking to push on. He hasn't really had the consistency he had last year with the very consistent podiums, I believe, in every race. As the drivers come through sector 3 now, so of course a very short lap around Zandvoort, only the 14 corners, so a good start here and track position are imperative. They've done the hard bit through qualifying, now they've just got to nail the start. As the drivers retake their grid positions, they will have sorted their fuel and ERS mixes out that they want for the start of the race. Drivers retake their positions now. The Renaults will be happy see where they can end up in the race, and potentially in the points, which will help move them up the constructors a little bit. As Luke Prentice and Karen Robb are the final cars to join the grid. So here we go. It's the Zandvoort Grand Prix here, round 3 in season 7. The red lights go on, and away we go for the start of the Zandvoort Grand Prix. JT gets a good start, as does Canoe. TDB here side by side into sector 1. We have a lot of ghost cars, so a little bit of desync going on here. Oh, TDB! He's in the wall, he's out the race! Oh no, and Vapor King as well! I don't know if they got tangled up with each other, and that brings out an immediate safety car. We barely got 3 corners into the race, and we have another safety car. I think that might be a little bit quicker than we had in Singapore, actually. What a start to the race that was. So JT makes a good start, as does Canoe. I believe TDB didn't get off the line so well, and he and Vapor King obviously got tangled up through that very quick left-right section. So now the drivers will be coming around nice and under that delta, because of course we have seen a couple of drivers get penalties under the virtual safety car, and that can mess up your race very easily. So I believe the race is going to be dry all the way. Of course, now, they reckon you can do about 20 or so laps on the hard. It'll be interesting to see if any of the front runners dive into the pits. Of course, they're on worn soft tyres, so I don't think any of them will, though, because you're just going to mess up your track position now. As we go on to lap 2. In fact, I believe, no one's pitted, so it's just the leaderboard sorting itself out. Oh no, actually Canoe has pitted. Let's see what tyres he's going on to here. No, he hasn't. It's just the game glitching. So actually Canoe did drop a... No, he's in P2. The leaderboard is glitched, so yeah. So we have got a couple cars in the pit. So Vapor Matt and Lord Alam. So Vapor Matt's gone on to the medium. So he'll certainly be looking to stretch that later in the race, as has Lord Alam. So I don't think too many winners and losers there from the start. Once the leaderboard sorts itself out, actually Vapor Shea making up 3 positions off the start, so that's not too bad for him. Of course, under the safety car, they're all going to be bunched back up. So potentially again fireworks to look out for through turn 2 here at Zandvoort. Certainly didn't expect to have a safety car this early on, but the walls are surprisingly close to the track through some sections. So what can they do here from the start? Of course, a bit of a tricky safety car restart round here. A lot of the drivers probably won't have had this before, so it's going to be a bit tricky to know where to start. We have Red Sniper Eye and Bazooka Joe starting on the mediums as well, so they're going to be certainly looking to stretch those later in the race. They're going to the game, you're only going to take about another 4 laps, but I expect to see drivers only pushing to lap 18-19, try and really keep that track position. As we have a Renault dive into the pits, TRT James, I don't know if he's picked up damage somewhere. No, it doesn't look like he's got a front wing. He's just pitted, which is now going to put him right at the back for this safety car restart. So no penalties as of yet either. Of course, safety car gives you a nice chance to knock your EOS down into minimum, of course. Really start that energy. A lot of drivers will also put the fuel mix down to lean. They really want to just get that rich fuel mix and able to restart, try and gain as much time as they can before the DRS gets reactivated in a couple laps time. I believe we have dry weather for the race, so that's not going to throw any spanners in the works. Just in terms of stats for this race, there are 9 wins from pole, 10 from second, and 9 from outside the front row. So certainly not a track in real life where you can get pole and that's it. You know, certainly plenty of positions to be made up. Of course, this was back in the day though, 30, 40 years ago. The safety car is going to be in this lap now, so JT just trying to get that final bit of heat into the tyres, as I'm sure he's going to slow down and back the pack up now. Of course, where you launch around here is a very important thing, because you launch too early and the car behind gets a jump on you, of course, so no overtaking until green flag. So that's quite a way down the straight on this track. JT taking it nice and easy now through the final turn. He's certainly holding the pack up. Maybe trying to deep Knuth and Shea out behind. Still not accelerating. Oh, I don't know if that's actually happened, but I think JT may actually have front wing damage there from hitting the wall. That's certainly not going to be what he hoped happened. As James dives into the pit again, so I don't know if there was a collision further back on the grid. Bazooka Joe overtaking Luke Prentice now into turn 1. So, no one really getting a good start as, oh, there's a yellow flag, Carwin Robb is out. I don't know if he's had a collision with anyone, but he's out the race now as well. So, no positions really gained or lost out of the safety car restart here. Carwin Robb, of course, not going to be very happy with that. I believe that's the second race in a row with a DNF. So, TRT James pitting again. I assume there was a collision further back on the grid. Now man, the drivers are going to start to settle in a bit now. They've got through the safety car restart. Now let's go try and settle into their pace and see what they can do. TDB saying in the chat he got hurt, so I think he may have got caught on the front wing of Vapor King. Now, of course, a lot of the drivers, as they saw in qualifying, are fairly similar pace around this track, so there's not really too much to separate them. Could just be the odd like line or mistake here and there. Front runners certainly spreading out a little bit now, of course. You get a little bit of a dirty air effect as we jump on board with Benja, who's very close to Harrison in front, just a few tenths behind. So Vapor Matt now trying to make a move on Northern Lamb as they go through sector 2, but as you can see on this track, just one bad exit out of the corner and suddenly you lose a few tenths, and you know that puts an end to your overtaking opportunities for potentially another lap. So the steward, oh, as Luke Prentice runs off through the gravel through one of the later turns. In fact, I think he's retired. I don't know what's happened there. It looked like he was just in the gravel. Maybe he... Oh, and that brings up the VSC. So, JT diving into the pits. Going on to the hard tyre, so he may be looking to stretch these to the end. As, oh, he's, yeah, where he's getting his front wing replaced as well, which is suddenly going to drop him down the grid a fair bit, but does give him some clean air to run in, as Vapor Matt pits as well behind. So, a couple of the leaders taking a bit of a gamble here, but they can make the softs, or make the hards even, sorry, last till the end of the race. TDB saying in the chat, he looked backwards when he looked back forwards and he's in the wall, so I don't know, maybe a bit of drift, maybe just an accidental bit of lag, who knows there. So if you are watching, please pop in the comments, who do you think is going to win this race, and you know, who are you predicting now is going to take... Oh, as Knuth gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Oh, he is going to be heartbroken at that, because that is going to drop him so far down the grid. It may even bring him out behind JT. Of course, if you're speeding by even 1/1000th of a second as the safety car ends, that gives you a drive-through. So, he comes in to serve it. Very narrow pit entry here at Ramble as well. Come on board with Benja as he goes round the outside of Harrison. Is Harrison going to keep it there? No! Bender gets the move done through turn 1. Now when we jump back up the grid, Vapor Trench, only within a couple temps now, Vapor Shade could be possibly looking to make a move here as we head into Sector 2. As they head into this quick right-hander now, through then about 3rd or 4th gear. Going into the quick left-hander, double left-hander, just like turn 10 at Bahrain. But I think Vapor Shade has got a slightly better run out of there. Vapor Trench just not able to close up enough. As they come through now into Sector 3 towards these 2 quick right-handers, but again, you're not really going to be able to get much of a run. I believe DRS is enabled now, so can Vapor Trench make a move down the straight or not? He's going to have the DRS, he's going to have the fuel mixture up. But again, just not close enough, as Jack Prentice is very close now. Looking to make a move into turn 1 on the Lion. They're going to be side by side on the exit. Neither driver giving an inch here. He's going to have the outside when the inside of the next corner, but he's sticking it around the outside through turn 3 as well. For the Lion, he's still there. This is suddenly a good bit of racing here as they head towards Sector 2, but I think Jack may just get the move done, and Lion looking up the inside. But Jack closes the door off nice and early. So Jack managing to gain a position there on track. A Lion probably not going to be too happy about that. He's going to be looking to make the move back as quick as he can. And we jump on front on Harrison, who's very close to Bender here as they head down this DRS straight. He's not going to make a move there. He's going to probably try and get as close as he can, get as good a run as he can now of these final couple corners. He's going to have DRS, Bender is not. He's about 2 seconds, in fact, behind Cobalt. So, Harrison's got the DRS advantage. Can he make it work? It's not a very long DRS straight here at Zandvoort. As the Lion now comes back at Jack Prentice. It's almost like a mirror of the first one, but this time Jack gets through on the inside through turn 1. Now it's been Red Sniper into it as Knuth overtakes Lord of Lamb further back. Was the battle of the Williams teammates there. Here they come flying down now through this quick left right hander. Red Sniper looking to make a move possibly through this section. It goes very high speed, very difficult to actually make an overtake round unless the driver in front makes a mistake, but the Lion is very close now to Jack in front. Can he get a good run through these left-handers, get the DRS open down this straight? Again, it's not very long this straight. It's going to be very difficult to make a move around here. You see here, the drivers are just kind of getting stuck in that 3/10 gap where they just can't get close enough. But Lion gets quite a bad exit out of that turn now, so Red Sniper are looking to make a move possibly. And he gets a better run through the banking as well. They're both going to have DRS, so it's all a matter of who is more committed here into turn 1. Red Sniper taking the inside line on the medium tyres, so slightly slower tyres as well. I think he's through. Yeah, he's through as they go through to the quick right-left-hander. So back now, Bazooka Joe's also overtaken Lord Lamb, so he's fallen back slightly, unfortunately for him. Of course, I believe Knuth served his drive-through, so he hasn't even made a pit stop yet, so he's going to have to claw his way back up through the field. But as we saw in Singapore, he can do it. It's TRT James has spun it through turn 1, so his race goes from bad to worse, as his reserve teammate is impressing further up the field. Certainly not having the best of times this season, TRT James. As he spun it again, I think, through in Sector 1 again. Those tyres are going to be absolutely boiling now. So, up the grid, the front 4 separating out as Harrison comes into the pits now. So you see the drivers who have pitted. Oh no, TRT James again! That might bring out a safety car. I think he might be alright because he hasn't retired, but Yeah, those rear tyres are absolutely cooked at this point. So, further down the field, I think Lord of Lamb. Yes, Lord of Lamb looking for a move on Bazooka Joe. Of course, two midfield drivers really looking to make their name. As we remember, Bazooka Joe had that great defending around Singapore for about, I believe, about 15-20 laps in the end, just constantly blocking the cars in front. They're just spreading out a bit. These drivers are kind of settling into their natural pace, so you're going to see a few gaps opening up. In fact, TRT James is already getting lapped by the front runners, so he may be pitting very quickly. I believe he has severe front wing damage as well. So let's have a look at Vapor Trench. Is he being able to... Oh, he's retired in the pit, so TRT James's race is done, and I think so far it's probably been a season to forget for him, as Jack Prentice pit, and that brings up the VSC. So I think the stewards may have a look at that one. So Jack Prentice and Lion going on to the hards, which should get them to the end of the race, but of course they're going to be pretty cooked by the end. So a lot of high-speed corners around this track. It's going to be very difficult to make those ones last to the end. See here, drivers kind of starting different races now, you know. They're driving different races, they're on different strategies, so it's going to be interesting to see who ends up where after this first round of pit stops. We could possibly see the first Renault race leader this season as well as Red Sniper Eye, because he'll probably stay out for a few extra laps than the soft runners. As Vapor Shane gets a drive-through penalty the second time this race, the leader has picked one up at the end of a VSC. So that's going to cost him massively. That's going to put him right down towards 10th, 11th position. It's about 15, 18 seconds around this track through the pit lane. So he's going to be furious about that, as Vapor Trench basically gets a free pit stop on him now, in fact. So he goes onto the hard tyres looking to go to the end. So, of course, now we have drivers on different races. So we also have Vapor Cobalt making a pit stop as well, one of the front runners from qualifying. Kind of drop down the grid a bit. As Harrison goes for a move around the outside of Jack Prentice around turn 1 and gets it done. So the grid will close up a little bit now from the pit stops. And Lord of Lamb is still behind Bazooka Joe, still looking to make a move somewhere. This track is a lot of high-speed corners. It's very difficult, really, unless you're that much quicker than the car ahead, to find an overtaking point. So as we will see here, where a lot of the quick cars are going to be coming out now behind the cars that haven't stopped yet, there are places it can be done. Within 6 tenths here of Bazooka Joe. If he gets a good run here through the last couple corners, he is going to look to make a move down the DRS straight. Also with JT catching up now, so his clear run without traffic is coming to an end. As I believe Benja has pitted, so 13 laps on the soft. That's a very good stint, as Lord of Lamb goes up the inside into turn 1. He doesn't push him that wide, they're still side by side out the exit. And Lord of Lamb takes the inside and makes the move stick, as Bazooka Joe runs very wide. Someone has gone, oh, Lion has spun in turn 1. Or there's been a collision, so the Racing Point boys certainly not having a good day today, as we've already had 5 DNFs around Zandvoort and we're only just halfway through the race. Lord of Lamb's got a couple cars here behind him. Of course, JT, the race leader early on. I believe he will still be the race leader once everyone's completed their pit stops, but this is allowing Vapor Trench to really close up behind him now. So we see those two battling out on track. Knuth's still out because of course he took the drive-through early on, but we currently have the first Renault race leader of the season, which is Red Sniper Eye, because he is still out on those medium tyres. As Knuth possibly looking to make a move, but I don't think he'll risk anything, as JT is looking to make a move here. on Bazooka Joe. He's going up the inside through turn 1, but Bazooka Joe holds it very nicely around the outside. He takes the racing line back, but look at Vapor Trench now. He's right behind them as JT runs very close to the rear wing of Bazooka Joe left through turn 3. Now, this isn't a section you can really overtake on, so JT's got to stay patient now with Vapor Trench breathing down his neck. They fly through the quick double right-handers of Sector 2 now. JT, Trench and Bazooka Joe all within a couple tenths of each other here. JT's going to be looking to get a good run and get away from Trench. Maybe try and use Bazooka Joe as a roadblock to just block him off behind. JT now breathing right down the neck of Bazooka Joe, with Trench waiting in the wings as well, with Harrison very close to Benja just behind. They've been battling all race. Oh no! Vapor Trench! Oh no, JT has his front wing taken off by Bazooka Joe as he goes into the pit lane. And he's going to have to do a whole lap with half of his front wing missing. That might have just cost him the race win. Oh, I think the steward's definitely going to take a look at that one, because that might have just ruined JT's race, that one as well. He's going to drop right down. He's got a whole lap to do without that front wing. As we have Benja and Harrison battling. Feels like these two are almost tied together at the hip this race. They just can't seem to separate from each other. I'm very surprised JT didn't actually get made to retire there after that collision, but you see he's dropping right down the grid. In fact, I think he's out the race. He's spun it on the gravel. He's going to struggle to get going as he crashes into the wall. The championship leader's in the wall, as is P2 or P3. So Vapor Knoof right now could make up some massive ground on his championship rivals. JT is going to be absolutely heartbroken. What looked like a good chance at a race win is now absolutely ruined. He's an entire pit stop behind the front runners. Jump aboard with Vapor Knoof. He's made these softs last 16 laps, which is certainly an impressive stint. I imagine though this is probably going to be his last lap before he comes into the pits. Further back we have the two Ferraris battling with each other. Vapor Shea on the much fresher tyres. Vapor Matt, of course, has made 2 stops in this race, as JT gets a time penalty as well, I assume, for cutting that corner in Sector 3. His race is just absolutely ruined at this point. In fact, Knoof nearly going to lap him. So we have the 2 Ferraris now stuck here behind Jack Prentice, as JT gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane and he's retired. So the championship leader and P3 have both retired, and you've got to think Vapor Knoof is going to be licking his lips right now at the possibility of gaining massive points on his championship leaders. Or championship rivals even. As Vapor Trench sets the fastest lap. So once Red Sniper I pits, and Vapor Trench is going to be our race leader. And it's 3 wide as they head into turn 1 with the 2 Ferraris still side by side as Jack Prentice comes back up the inside now. Oh, and Knoof gets a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit exit line. A lot of mistakes here by the front runners in the championship. Benja and Harrison still battling as well further up the grid, or further up the track should I say. And Vapor Shea, of course, with a much fresher tyres, you've got to think he'll be asking his teammate to get out the way, but they certainly seem to be racing each other as Vapor Knoof is retired! Oh no, he's gone off at the end of Sector 1. I don't know how that's happened there, but that's the top 3 in the championship now out of this race. That is unbelievable. I don't think anybody expected that as we came into this one. So, this race is certainly going to have a big effect on the championship, with the 2 leaders, or top 3, all out of the Grand Prix now, as Vapor Shea makes a move on Vapor Matt, DRS wide open well before turn 1. So we're down to just 11 runners, as I think that's Harrison in the wall. It is Harrison in the wall, so I don't know if there's been a coming together with him and Benja, but that's another big crash at the front of the grid. So in fact, Vapor King, who's in P4, who also went out on the first lap. So we've lost the top 4 championship standing drivers at the minute. In fact, I think the next driver who's actually racing today is a Lion, who's down in P9. So Vapor Trench is going to have a great chance here at closing the gap at the top with the way he's driving at the minute. He's got a very nice gap to the car behind now, so he can even afford to have a penalty. So now, of course, we keep on board Jack Prentice. He's keeping quite close. In fact, Vapor Cobalt is just 3 tenths behind Lord of Lamb, who did pit very early on at the end of the first safety car. I believe he had a collision at the back. So Vapor Cobalt goes past nice and easy using the main DRS straight. Of course, we're down to just 11 runners now, and Harrison's going to have to pit as well. So he's going to be a solid 30 seconds behind by the time he gets out of the pits. There's an ongoing battle here between Lord of Lamb and Cobalt. You'd imagine Cobalt is probably going to pull away fairly swiftly on those fresher tyres. And we jump further back down the track where we have Bazooka Joe battling with a Lion. Bazooka Joe, of course, on the fresher tyres. So you see here, if you look at the position change, massive changes to the grids. You know, Lord of Lamb 12 positions up currently, although he hasn't pitted, so that'll drop right down. But a lot of change. The front 2 going off in turn 2. It's certainly been an interesting race, this one. Certainly more interesting than I think a lot of people would have anticipated around Zandvoort, a track not really known for being a very good racing track. So further up we have Vapor Shea, just behind Benja as they go into this final straight. Looks like he's got a good run as well. Benja, of course, not going to have DRS. There's a massive gap to the car in front. And Vapor Shea makes a move, but he can't move back across. So he'll be side by side through turn 1, but I think Benja just kind of knew there that he couldn't really race him. So the grid starting to settle a bit now. Drivers kind of knowing their pace, knowing where they are, knowing what strategy they're on. Just settling down now. Of course, we've had that craziness. We've had a lot of retirements. We've lost Canoof, JT, TRT James, Luke Prentice, Colin Rob, TDB, and Vapor King. So we've lost the top 4, I believe, in the championship so far. This is going to have massive implications on the championship standings. Of course, Harrison as well having a crash, so he is going to be well behind, and he's going to do very well to catch the cars in front, and he's currently 22 seconds behind Bazooka Joe. Of course, we still have a couple drivers who are going to pit towards the end. We have Red Sniper I, who's rapidly losing time now to Vapor Trench, and Lord Alam, who I'd imagine will pit fairly soon as well. So the main battle we currently have going on track is really this one between Jack Prentice and Vapor Matt. Of course, bit of a discussion after the Singapore Grand Prix between one of the McLarens and Vapor Matt, so they're certainly going to be maybe a bit calmer, and they know the stewards are going to be keeping an eye on them this race, so they're not going to try anything too crazy, you would imagine. As you can see now, the gap's kind of stretching out a bit. You know, we've lost a lot of the top drivers now, so it's going to be interesting. Maybe a couple maiden podiums here, of course. So Red Sniper Y doing very well on those mediums to make them last 21 laps. As we keep on board actually with Jack Prentice, but he's too far away to make the move. Can you imagine Vapor Trench just going to sit behind, just going to keep in that DRS range, not really trying to overtake, because he's just taking an unnecessary risk. Right now, this race is his to control from the front. He has Cobalt 4.5 seconds behind, so he has plenty of time to decide what to do. I believe Red Sniper I has done these tyres since the start of the race, so the fact he's managed to make them last this long is very impressive. Vapor Trench now just within 6/10 or so of Red Sniper Eye, so maybe he will look to make the move on track, because Cobalt is starting to close that gap, slowly but surely. The longer Trench is also sat in his dirty air, just going to wear those tyres a little bit more as well. Further back, Bazooka Joe and a Lion are very close now. Of course, in a very non-overtaking part of the track roads. Trench is really closing up now behind Red Sniper Eye. Let's see if Sniper Eye is going to pit this lap, or if he's going to stay out and Trench is going to have to make the overtake. Of course, he's on the much fresher tyres at this point. Red Sniper Eye's tyres are going to be absolutely screaming to be replaced now. As I believe he is, yes, he's going to... No, he's staying on track, so Trench overtakes. As we said, Red Sniper Eye doing very well to keep on track. And Vapor Shea overtake Lord of Lamb, because Lord of Lamb is now in the pit, so he only managed to go 21 laps on his mediums. So maybe Red Sniper Eye is the tyre whisperer of the FPSL this year, managing to carry on. But of course, Lord of Lamb now gets to go on the soft tyres. He's going to have a massive pace advantage over the rest of the grid towards the end of this race. As Vapor Trench actually goes purple through Sector 1, so showing he's keeping a bit of pace in reserve there, as Cobalt starting to lose time to the leader now, sorry. Of course, we still have a battle going on further back between Jack Prentice, just stuck just behind Vapor Matt. So, however now, Vapor Matt closing up to Benja in front. Of course, creates a little bit of a DRS train now, so Jack Prentice is going to be able to gain even less. As they come through into Sector 3, through that very tricky right-hander. Very easy to get wrong there, the wall creeps up on you a lot. Trench sets the fastest lap of the race, 25 laps in on hards, which is certainly not something you expect to see. As Red Sniper Eye finally pits off of those mediums, going 24 laps in the end on them. Certainly an impressive job to do that. Lord of Lamb, however, obviously on these fresh, soft tyres now, he's going to be looking to make his way up through the pack as he goes up the inside of Bazooka Joe and gets the overtake done through turn 1. Now right behind the Lion as well, so he could be looking to make another overtake. As he runs wide, he opens the door to Bazooka Joe though. As they run down towards Sector 2 through this quick left-right-hander now. Of course, very difficult to overtake on this part of the track due to just the high-speed nature of it. Really, you can't really get close enough to make an overtake, but certainly through here, through this first couple corners of Sector 2, you can look to have a move as Bazooka Joe's dropping off a little bit. Lord of Lamb's just going to be able to get on the power so much earlier than the cars around him now, could possibly make a move down this straight. Of course, a Lion not going to have DRS, but no, he's just not close enough. Keep an eye on Vapor Matt as well, kind of stuck in that 6/10 range. We've seen a lot of drivers get stuck in today, but we just can't get close enough on the straights. So Lord of Lamb now, he's probably going to look to make this move. He's going to have the DRS open, the ERS turned right up, side by side into turn 1. They get quite close, almost banging wheels, but Lord of Lamb on that much fresher rubber, just being able to make the move stick. Now we jump back on board with Vapor Matt here, kind of involved in a 3-car train, but to watch out for just behind Red Sniper Eye, of course, on those fresh, soft tyres, so he might be able to put himself in the mix and get a very good result on his debut. Gaining quite a lot. You can see the difference in speed he's able to carry through these corners. It's quite impressive how much quicker his soft tyres are. You can see in fact how much time he's gaining. They come down this DRS straight, even with DRS on the cars in front as well. He's closed the gap by 6/10 just through that one sector. Let's see what he can do now. He's certainly going to have the pace advantage over the cars in front, you would think. Just 2/10 behind Jack Prentice, always going side by side with him through turn 14. We're both going to have the DRS open, but he's going to get the move done now as he sets the fastest lap of the race as well, so that's certainly a way to make an impact on your first race of the season in the FPSL, and now he's only 5 tenths behind Vapor Matt, so he could potentially get up to 4th position here. Vapor Matt on now 20 lap old hard tyres as well, so they're going to be starting to struggle a bit too. That's my bride just flying through the pack at the minute. Of course, he's going to be a good probably second or two faster a lap, so not much the cars in front can do. Almost like Ricardo at China a few years ago, if you guys remember that one. So again, he's going to look to get a good run out of this. He hasn't got too good of a run. Of course, they both have DRS with Vapor Matt just 8 tenths behind the car in front. So we're going to make a move here into this quick right left-hander into sector 3. But this is going to be where he looks to really maximise those fresh soft tyres, of course. You're going to have much more grip, be able to carry much more speed through these last couple corners. As you can see, he's already within 2 tenths before we even get to the straight. He's going to sit in that section and open up the DRS. Is he going to get the move done before turn 1? No, he's not. They're going to be side by side. Vapor Matt keeping it there. Still racing on those old tyres, but there's just nothing he can do. The tyres are just so much quicker now. And it's no point going to have Benja in his sights. Really 5 tenths behind Benja, who of course done a very good job defending this race, keeping a lot of cars behind him. So we're down to just 11 runners in the Zandvoort Grand Prix. In fact, I believe that's less than we ended up with around Singapore, which is certainly impressive around this track. But again, some of the walls are very close to the track, and they're a lot closer than you think they are until you hit them. We're coming to the business end now of this race, as Red Sniper gets a very good run out that last corner. Of course, Benja is not going to have DRS down this straight like the last couple cars he's overtaken, but still can't get close enough. That straight just not really long enough to try and make a move through there. However, again, he's just going to look for this move down the main pit straight. It's probably the easiest part of the track to overtake on, so why wouldn't you? As he gets a decent run here through these last couple corners. Again, Benja just not going to have DRS, just a bit more of a sitting duck than Matt and Jack were. Of course, they're going to be hoping they go side by side, but no. Red Sniper gets the move done. Now, does he have time to catch up to Vapor Shea and claim a podium on his first race of Season 7? That would not be a bad result. Of course, he's 4 and a bit seconds back, so it's going to take a good drive from here to get that one done. And of course, Vapor Shea on all hard tyres now, so interesting to see what happens. As you can see, Vapor Trent's just keeping that gap very nice at the front. He's up to almost 6 seconds now. Vapor putting in a very good showing today, it must be said, holding the top 3 spots on the grid, of course. So let's see what these guys can do. Of course, they've all been sat together for a while now in this order. Benja, then Matt, and then Jack. As you'd imagine that Red Sniper probably going to pull ahead, but not really too much on this lap actually. He's only pulled ahead by a couple tenths, so Benja managing to keep up quite well, maybe with the DRS effect, but of course on this track DRS doesn't make too much of a difference. So you see this train here now, we're all just kind of all just been sat together in the same order for a little while, as Benja just can't quite get close enough. But you see he's closing up the gap a bit. Red Sniper not really gaining on Cobalt now, or Shea. A bit disappointed with that, Lord, and I'm probably a bit too far back now to make a move on this group ahead. So they're just probably going to be settling down, accepting their positions at this point. There's only one driver now not scoring points today, which is currently Harrison, after his crash on his outlap where he lost his front wing. As you see, Red Sniper is actually losing time to the cars in front. So maybe Shea saw him on softs, spoke to the engineer, heard that they were fairly new. Put his foot down a little bit. As Bazooka Joe finally gets the first penalty of the race, which is actually going to stand with a 3-second time penalty. And everybody else who's got a penalty so far today has crashed out of the race. So, not a good omen there for Bazooka Joe, of course. As Benja nearly loses the rear end, that's going to give Matt a chance to really close up through these last couple corners and maybe finally make the move he's been trying so hard for these last few laps. Of course, his tyres are 8 laps older though, so that's going to give Jack a chance possibly. You just see the effect that DRS train has. None of them can really close up on each other. Of course, so You see there, Trench really extending the gap out now, about like 6.5 seconds. He's probably pretty happy with that with only 5 laps to go. This train here though, can anybody make a move towards the end of the race? We're pretty annoyed looking at each other's rear wing for the last however many laps. So, Vapor Trench, of course, on the podium last time they raced here in P3. The other driver on the podium that day was Vapor Canoe, who, of course, crashed out earlier on. Of course, the winner last time as well, TDB, off the track, as was JT. Oh, as Benja gets a time penalty. That's going to cost him massively. That's going to cost him 2 positions, unless he can pull away now from Matt and Jack Prentice as they come through Sector 3, but he hasn't got very long to do it. So you know he's going to be squeezing every ounce out of those tyres. He's absolutely pushing that car to its limit to try and hopefully get a gap somewhere, but I think Red Sniper I maybe realised he's probably not going to catch Shea, so just kind of eased off a bit, keep the tyres good, because of course softs certainly don't last very long round here. So it's going to be another win from outside the front row today round Zandvoort, of course. Plenty of them throughout the track's history here. So this train here, it's just going to be a bit disappointing really, seeing all these drivers kind of get stuck behind each other, but that is unfortunately the nature of the circuit. Not too many overtaking zones, you just got one really main DRS straight, similar to some other tracks where the other DRS straight's just kind of there for show. And of course all these drivers now are going to be trying so very desperately to not get a penalty, because it can certainly drop you down the order, especially in this midfield pack here. As Red Sniper right, somehow apparently losing a lap to the cars in front there as he goes across the timing line. So unfortunately, maybe not quite the fireworks we had round Singapore, but certainly plenty of action still. We've lost a lot of cars so far. We've lost 6 drivers now, I believe, in this race. So plenty of DNF, something, you know, a lot of drivers really don't expect around Zandvoort. No rain though, unfortunately, because this track can be very tricky in the wet. Of course, Vapor Canoe jinxed it in the chat earlier by saying that there were no penalties. You know, good old commentator's curse on that one. So, for me, I guess driver of the day probably is Vapor Trench. He has driven a very, very good race. At the risk of cursing him here, you know, he bided his time, made his way through the pack, took advantage of the safety cars when he could, and, you know, just kind of controlled the race from the front really. But, you know, he hasn't had too much to do overtaking wise, of course, as we lost JT and Canoe, and of course TDB, who was up near the front early on as well. So we come into the last few laps now. Can't see too many more overtakes happening, unfortunately, but you never know. In the FPSL, anyone can lose their rear end, and suddenly they're in the wall, safety car, or, you know, they lost a couple positions. So, who knows what's going to happen? Of course, all the drivers are going to be concentrating extra hard now, making sure that they just don't lose it somewhere, they don't get a time penalty. They're just going to be really making sure that they keep it nice and clean through to the finish. Of course, Benja still has that time penalty, which, as it stands, would put him down into 7th position, and he is now a second behind Red Sniper Eye, so he's something to look out for there. But he thinks, I'm really interested by the fact that Red Sniper Eye really hasn't had much of a pace advantage since overtaking these guys. Come through Sector 3 for the second to last time, or first to last time, as we've gone to the last 2 laps now. course, this train has just been this way for about, I think about 20 laps now, since Benji came out of the pits. These drivers are getting very frustrated as Bazooka Joe overtakes a Lion further back on track, but not that that really matters because Bazooka Joe has a 3-second time penalty, so he's going to end up behind him anyway, so unless he pulls a gap out in 2 laps, of course, you never know. There's Vapor Matt now kind of dropping a bit back off of Benji. See the tyre wear effect. They're starting to kick in, so Jack Prentice might be looking to make a move here, of course. And that would get him up to 5th place as it stands. He's got the DRS open. Are we going to see our first move of the day into this corner? No, he backs out of it. He thinks better of it. It's a very difficult place to overtake that one. In fact, Benja's only a few tenths behind Red Sniper Ryan, but his soft tyres starting to go off a bit as we go on to our last lap. Now, Jack Prentice is going to get that DRS open. I don't think Matt's going to have DRS anymore off of Benja in front, so here we go. Jack Prentice round the outside through turn 1. How many times have we said that one today? And he makes the move, so that's going to put him up to 5th place as it stands with Benja and his time penalty. Although Vapor Matt's coming back in through turn 3, but he can't quite get the nose alongside, and Jack just manages to get away, and you'd imagine how old those tyres are, he's probably going to struggle to catch back up. He's very close. They go down into sector 2 now. Though, of course, we do have to give the shot to Vapor Trench as he comes through the last sector, through his last couple corners. It's been a very good race for him. He's going to be very happy to finally get back on the top step of the podium as Vapor Trench wins the Netherlands Grand Prix. And then we have Cobalt in second, Shay closing up quite close at the end in third as we jump back to that battle between... Oh, I think Lord of Lamb's actually managed to overtake Vapor Matt. I don't know if he's made a mistake somewhere. The rain finally comes in, of course it does. With Red Sniper Right holding on to 4th. Jack Prentice taking 5th. Lord of Lamb in 7th. Vapor Matt in 8th. A Lion in 9th. And Bazooka Joe in 10th as we just wait for Harrison to come across the line, in fact, as he's going for the fastest lap, I believe. So let's jump on board with him. Let's see what he can do here. He has gone purple through sector 2, so we could see maybe a bonus point here, of course. Unlike real F1, you still get the bonus point if you're outside the top 10. So, can he get that fastest lap here in the Zandvoort Grand Prix? As he comes flying across the line, can he do it? I think he got it at the end. I believe he did. So, that is the end of the Zandvoort Grand Prix. Lord of Lamb gets driver of the day. For me, it was Vapor Trench. Controlled the race very well from the front and overall did a very good job. As the drivers now will come out onto the podium after 36 exciting laps of racing. Of course, Vapor Trench very happy to be back up on the top step with his first win of this season, so that's going to certainly launch him right back up the standings. With Cobalt in second as well, and Vapor Shay in third. Certainly an interesting race, a lot of the front runners going out. That's going to make a massive difference to the championship standings. So, as we go into our final classification for today, with Vapor Trench in P1, Cobalt second, Vapor Shay in third, Red Sniper Ryan fourth, Jack Prentice in fifth, Benjo in sixth, Lord of Lamb up to seventh, Vapor Matt in eighth, a Lion in ninth, Bazooka Joe in 10th, and Harrison in 11th with the fastest lap, who gets the bonus point. Today we lost Vapor Canoe, JT, TRT James, Luke Prentice, Colin Robb, TDB and Vapor King as the DNFs. So thank you everyone very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure hosting the Zandvoort Grand Prix. Make sure you check out next week when we will see if any more changes to the championship standings are made. Thank you very much and good night.